Hi, and welcome back to gift number 9 of Randy Fujishin's Gifts from the Heart, 10 Ways to Build More Loving Relationships. The last gift or chapter we went over was enlarging others and the power of complimenting the invisible and just choosing the words we speak, whether they enlarge others or diminish others, and using that paradigm as a filter for all of our words, whether they be enlarging, making somebody better, building up, or diminishing, taking something away, or, I think it's great too. I think that was a great chapter. It actually, when I first read it, I really thought long and hard about the words I said, and after I started kind of practicing it, I found myself saying a lot less than I was before, because when you do look at what you say through that lens, it makes you think about what you're going to say. So gift number 9, or chapter 9, is showing you care, and it starts with a quote by Ch.9. If love is real, it will be evident in our daily lives, in the many ways we show we care. My friend's husband died of leukemia 15 years ago. Russ's death left Sharon with a broken heart and a 4-year-old daughter to raise on her own. Russ was an outgoing man whose expressive nature let Sharon know just how loved she was. I especially admired the way he showed his love for his wife and daughter by his actions more than his words. I always noticed his ever-present smile, kind eyes, and gentle touch that declared his love for Sharon and Emma. 5 years after Russ's death, my wife and I were having lunch with Sharon in a quiet Chinese restaurant. I asked Sharon what she missed most about Russ. I miss his warm toes on my cold feet when I'd wake up at night. His toes? I smiled in disbelief. Oh yeah, Sharon said. There are a lot of things I miss about Russ, but just being able to feel his warm feet is what I miss most in the middle of the night. My wife added, I know the feeling. I'd miss Randy's hugs at night the most, right before we fall asleep. Since that conversation, I've thought a lot about what I'd miss most about Vicky. It would be the way she smiles at me right before she falls asleep at night. I've seen that smile countless nights over the years, a soft, timeless smile from the one who knows me better than anyone else in this world. I guess I know the feeling too. Perhaps the most memorable gifts we give are not communicated by words, but by our bodies. Although verbal expressions of love and caring are essential, it is our body language that truly connects us with the hearts of those we love. It is that knowing smile, the gentle kiss, the familiar hug, and even the warmth of well-known toes in the middle of the night that show you care. The language of the body is deep and quiet, speaking to the parts of our soul that transcend language and thought itself. No matter with whom you are connecting, romantic partner, family member, or friend, body language provides the most intimate, powerful form of communication. Whether it is the reassuring pat on the back from a friend, the gentle kiss of a mother, or the familiar touch of a lover, body language conveys an important message, the gift of showing you care. Recall that nonverbal communication is neither spoken nor written. It is communicated by posture, clothing, voice, touch, gestures, face, and eyes. It is your physical presence, the distance you stand from others, your punctuality or tardiness. It is the appearance of your desk, the interior of your car, and the jewelry you wear. Studies in nonverbal communication would suggest that it is not what we say that is important, but what we do. Ways to show you care. Once you get the hang of it, you can spend your entire lifetime discovering new and creative ways to show you care. There are hundreds of ways to show you care, but let's start with these 9. Be present, do nothing, touch, hug, smile, speak gently, keep promises, stay in touch, and laugh at yourself. Be present. The most important aspect of being present is that you are physically with those you love. You don't have to necessarily do anything special. Your partner might enjoy just sitting in silence at the beach or strolling around the neighborhood after dinner. Your mom or dad might be delighted if you dropped by and treated them to a late afternoon milkshake. It doesn't really matter what you do with your loved ones as long as you spend unstructured, enjoyable time together. Take stock of how you spend an average week. Chart each day, hour by hour, with your activities: sleeping, working, commuting, eating, shopping, playing, spending time with loved ones, and so forth. You will be surprised at how little time you actually devote to being with those you love. You might need to rearrange your priorities to devote more time with your loved ones. What are some ways you can spend extra time with your loved ones? Regular dates. One popular way to spend more time together is to arrange regular dates. Actually set aside one evening each week to spend time with your spouse or partner, and another evening or afternoon with your children, parents, friends, or other loved ones. At our house, Vicki and I reserve Thursday evenings to go on a date. We have a babysitter who stays with our 2 boys from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Friday nights are designated our $20 family night. One of the 4 of us plans an evening of fun and entertainment that cannot exceed $20. Most Saturday mornings, my 2 sons and I go for breakfast to talk about their week and then go surfing if the waves are good. That's pretty sweet. Check-in time. Another simple way to be present for your loved one is to set aside a special 10-minute check-in time before you go to work and again before you go to bed. You and a loved one can sit together where you won't be interrupted and share how you are both doing. That's actually a pretty interesting thing, just to sit down and just ask your, whoever, how you doing? That's good. This may mean getting up 10 or 15 minutes earlier and going to bed a few minutes later each day, but the results will be well worth the effort. You may not be able to go out on a date every evening, but these little check-in times are equally valuable in reestablishing those connections that show you care. No matter what you decide to do with the time you devote to your loved ones, just make certain that you give the gift of showing you care by being present. You will never regret the time you spent with them. That's true. Do nothing. One very important nonverbal message you can communicate to your loved one is to do nothing. I know this may sound strange, but doing nothing can be a very loving and powerful message. Communicate trust in what your loved one is doing by not intervening, redirecting, evaluating, instructing, or correcting. A woman in one of my classes shared the story about her first attempt to wax a car. She had been married for less than a year, and she wanted to surprise her husband by washing and waxing his car while he was napping one afternoon. While she was applying the wax onto the car, her husband woke and walked out to the driveway where she was rubbing wax onto the hood of the car. He grabbed the rag from her hand, complaining that she wasn't using the proper circular motion. Without saying a word, she walked back into the house. He followed her up the front steps, asking why she was upset, but she didn't respond. She just kept walking. It would have been better for the husband to do nothing, to simply sit on the front porch and watch his wife apply the wax, even the wrong way, and appreciate the real message of her actions. Instead, he put down her efforts. I'd pinch myself. We might have been taught to do things the right way. To make matters worse, we might still feel compelled to teach each other the correct or right way to do something. Whether it is making bread, entering data into a computer, or waxing a car, we feel it is our responsibility to instruct others on the proper method. There are times when intervention is necessary, especially in cases of physical or emotional abuse. Yet one of the most loving behaviors you can demonstrate is to do nothing. To silently accept what your loved one is doing, even when you disagree with his or her behavior. We need to develop our ability to do nothing, and not only in minor matters like waxing cars, but in more important matters. When a loved one wants to take a class at the community college, learn to fly an airplane, or explain why he or she is upset with us. During these times, we need to non-verbally give our loved ones space to decide what is best for them. We need to trust their actions, to acknowledge their decisions, and let them apply the wax, even if it's the wrong way. A loving relationship is always more important than a perfectly shined car. That's absolutely right. Touching provides the most immediate and powerful form of connection we can establish with another human being. No other form of communication is as intimate. The comfort of a friend's arm over your shoulder, the intimacy of sexual union, and the feel of someone's warm toes in the night are just a few ways we can connect with another person through the experience of touch, skin-to-skin contact. Many people complain that they would like to touch more but don't know exactly what to do. Well, for those folks, here is a list of some touching behaviors you might want to try. In addition to holding hands and touching a shoulder, you can pat, stroke, tickle, rub, massage, and wrap your arm around a waist, place your hand on a back, walk arm in arm, wipe a brow, groom hair, straighten a collar, warm a foot, rub a cheek, massage a neck, pat a back, tickle a chin, clasp a hand, and 100 other things to connect with your loved one. Don't get caught up in doing it the right way. Just try to increase your touching behavior. Go slowly. Don't rush things. Many of us, because our culture or family habits are not inclined to be touchers, so our attempts to initiate or increase our touching behavior must be done gradually. Try to initiate 2 touching behaviors during the next week. You can hold hands with your best friend for 2 or 3 minutes while you are walking together. You can simply touch your friend's shoulders when you speak with them during the next week. That's the way you are going to connect with those you love. You can give the gift of touching to those you love and build those bridges of connection that words can never achieve. Take a moment right now and look at your palms and fingers. These 2 hands can initiate deeper relationships with loved ones if you really reach out and make those intimate connections. Hug. Hugging is another way we can show caring to those we love. When I was younger, I restricted my hugging to my wife, my mother, and my 4 sisters. Over the years, however, I have come to enjoy hugging my dad, my brothers-in-law, my male and female friends, my colleagues, and just about anyone else I feel connected to. There was a time I thought hugging should be reserved for only a select few, but now I am beginning to realize its literal and symbolic power to connect me to those I care for. No other form of physical contact short of sexual union places us in such an immediate and intimate contact with another human being. When we hug, we feel the other person, we smell the other person, and we hear their words in our ears. We need to greet and say farewell with a hug. Hug those you love. I read a study about people that hug have lower blood pressure, longer lifespans, all kinds of stuff. Smile. This should be obvious, but you never know. Your decision to smile at others is one of the most significant decisions you make moment to moment, day in and day out, year after year. If you smile at others, they will more likely than return your smile. If you don't smile, they will be less likely to smile at you. This sounds pretty simple, yet we need to be reminded of this. A smile shows you care. Most of us think we offer a cheerful countenance to our loved ones, but you would be surprised of how often we are mistaken. Yeah. Increasing our smiling is something we should all do. How can we smile more? One technique I have my students try is to use a mirror to provide immediate feedback when speaking on the telephone. They place a small mirror on their desk so they can see their faces as they talk. This gives them an immediate picture of their smiling behavior. I know this may sound silly, but when I have conducted communications seminars for real estate agents, this little mirror trick is the most popular and effective suggestion I offer to increase their rapport with prospective clients. I am not suggesting you wear a mirror around your neck when you are talking to people, but the next time you are talking to your loved one, place a mirror in front of you and see how much smiling you actually do. You may be surprised. Another technique you might want to try to smile more frequently is to have your loved ones provide feedback on your behavior. Let's say you ask your sister to silently point to her lip when you are frowning or displaying a blank look. This is your signal to smile. You will be surprised how this feedback can increase your smiling. Just as important, it lets your loved ones know you are trying to improve your supportive communication with her, which is possibly more important than the behavior itself. Smile. It shows you care. Speak gently. Have you ever thought of your voice as a thermometer of your emotional temperature? When you're angry, your voice communicates hostility and aggression. When you're excited, your voice communicates elation and anticipation. No matter what words you choose to speak, your voice communicates emotional messages. It is the real message beneath the verbal message. Your voice says more about how you are feeling than do your words. What does your voice say about you? Is your voice gentle, soothing, and relaxed? Or is it rushed, irritating, and wearied? There are times we need to speak in soft, calm, and caring tones. Delivering the language of love needs to be different from directing firefighters to the second floor of a burning building or leading an assault on the front lines of a battlefield. One woman complained that her husband would always yell at her. He was the lead foreman of a large construction crew, and he would scream commands, directions, and criticism to his workers 10 to 12 hours a day. When he got home from work, he spoke to his wife and children in the same harsh, loud way. During a therapy session with the couple, I videotaped one of their discussions and then played the tape to them. The husband was startled at the loud, harsh tone of the voice he used when speaking to his wife. He had never heard his own voice on tape before. At his insistence, the next 2 sessions were spent softening his way of speaking and the manner in which he interacted with family members. If we are to truly communicate caring with our actions, we need to be sensitive to the manner in which we talk to our loved ones. Our paralanguage, the way we talk, should be softer and slower. These 2 characteristics of talking are important if we are to communicate caring. How can we discover what our voice sounds like to those we love? Just get a tape recorder and record 5 minutes of a conversation with a friend with their permission. Talk about a variety of subjects during the 5-minute period, the highlight of your day, something that upset you, and what you had for lunch. After you have talked, play back the recording and listen carefully to your voice. Does it sound like you? Do you sound warm or cold? Are your words fast or slow? Are you speaking too fast, or is the speed just right? Do you sound sincere? Do you like your voice? Ask your friend what he or she thinks of your voice. I don't like the sound of my own voice. Practice speaking more slowly and more softly into the recorder. Play your conversation back and see how your voice sounds with these modifications. Experiment with your voice, using the recorder as your tool for change. Remember, many times it is not what you say, but how you say it. Show you care by speaking gently. Keep promises. This is a good one. Many years ago in Kauai, I was lying on the beach in front of our hotel while my wife was taking a nap in our room. I struck up a conversation with an old Hawaiian fisherman named Herbie. He was a retired sugar plantation foreman, and for a man of 82, he looked slim, trim, and happy. After learning I was vacationing with my wife, Herbie told me he was going on his 47th year of a wonderful marriage. He told me the secret to his long marriage was keeping promises. Always keep your promises to your wife, he said. The big things and the small things. It doesn't matter. Keep your promises. Trust is the name of the game. As we talked, Herbie gave me another bit of advice. He said, if you're going to be late coming home from work, even just 10 minutes, give your wife a call. It shows you respect her. Over the years, I've put Herbie's advice to use. Even the one about calling my wife if I'm going to be late. You know, it works for us. Vicky even brags about my being late phone calls to her friends. At a deeper level, your decision to keep promises to loved ones is the basis for your overall credibility. When you promise to take your aunt out to dinner on Tuesday night, do you come through? When you promise to do a favor for a friend, do you follow through? When you promise your grandfather you'll call, do you keep your word? Here are a couple hints I have collected from students and clients who were pretty good at keeping promises. First, do not promise something you don't intend or aren't able to keep. Sometimes we promise more than we know we can deliver on. It is better to keep your mouth shut and not break a promise than to promise the moon and not be able or willing to deliver. Second, do not make too many promises in any given day. Keep your promises to a minimum so you can focus your energy on keeping them. Once again, it is better to make 1 or 2 promises and deliver on them than to make a bunch of promises and deliver on none of them. Third, keep track of your promises either in your head, which is difficult at best, or on paper. One man in my class told us he keeps any promise he makes to his wife or children on a little 39-cent notepad and scratches off each promise when he completes it. This may be going a bit too far, but I bet his family appreciates his efforts to show he cares. Finally, when you cannot keep a promise, let your loved one know it as soon as possible. Do not try to hide the fact or pretend you don't remember making the promise in the first place. That just makes matters worse. Be mature enough to admit to admit it and apologize. We cannot always make good on everything we promise, but we need to show we care by admitting when we can't. Stay in touch. I once worked with a middle-aged woman in therapy who was in the process of grieving her husband's recent death. Jeez. Stay in touch. Let's do that. I once worked with a middle-aged woman in therapy who was in the process of grieving her husband's recent death. She said something I have never forgotten. One of the things I miss most about Ed is his lunchtime telephone calls. For more than 13 years, he would call me for a minute or two during his lunch break and tell me he loved me. Every lunch hour for 13 years. I miss the little ways he kept in touch. That's sad. Staying in touch is another nonverbal way we can communicate caring to our loved ones. We don't have to be on a business trip halfway around the world to think about keeping in touch. It is these daily reminders we appreciate and remember. Whether it is a phone call during a lunch break, a little note on the steering wheel of your partner's car, or a love letter sent from your workplace. These are ways we show caring. Be on the lookout for new ways to stay in touch during your day with those you love. In fact, why don't you just give yourself a break and put the book down? Go over to your phone, yes, right this moment, and give someone you love a call for no particular reason. Just call to say hello and connect for a moment or two. This phone call might be the most significant act you will do this entire day. Go ahead, make that call. That's good. The next one is laugh at yourself. This, I think, people really need to get a hold of, because if you can't laugh at yourself, then other people definitely can't laugh at you, and then you're upset and probably not very happy. Laugh at yourself. The final way to show you care is to laugh at yourself. Can you laugh at your own shortcomings? Do you possess the ability to poke fun at yourself? Are you willing to lighten up occasionally and smile at an unusual mannerism or habit you have? From a psychological point of view, your ability to laugh at yourself displays a healthy willingness to detach from your ego, your self-image. You probably expend enormous energy and effort to protect yourself from unfair criticism, attack, and aggression. You take yourself seriously, and you should. There is work to do, money to earn, and goals to accomplish. This is all well and good, but are you willing to let go occasionally and smile at your funny mannerisms, weird habits, and unusual quirks? We need to balance seriousness and lightheartedness. Can you detach from your serious, protective self and periodically smile good-naturedly at yourself? This ability is especially valuable during interpersonal conflict. When you and a loved one are attempting to resolve a dispute and he says, "You're really being grouchy," your natural inclination is to defend yourself or return the attack. But if you feel there is some truth to what is said, you can let go long enough to breathe. Smile good-naturedly and say, "You're right. I'm being an old grouch. Sorry." Can you detach from your serious self? Can you occasionally let go of winning every argument? You may object to this notion and view any willingness to laugh at yourself as weakness or fault. I believe that in your attempts to communicate for connection with loved ones, this willingness to not take yourself seriously all the time is one of the healthiest gifts you can give. We need to admit we are not perfect. We need to give ourselves permission to make mistakes, have faults, and be downright weird sometimes. Who is keeping score anyway? We need to learn to take ourselves less seriously and not be number one in all things. Maybe if we develop the willingness and ability to laugh at ourselves more often, the journey to the hearts of our loved ones will be easier to navigate. Lighten up. Guidelines for showing you care. Before you toss this book aside and begin hugging everyone you know, you might want to take a deep breath and relax. Then consider the following. Consider the following guidelines when giving the gift of showing you care. Be sensitive to social and cultural differences. When in doubt, do a perception check and take it slowly. Be sensitive to social and cultural differences. Much of our nonverbal communication is universal, and its meaning is interpreted similarly from culture to culture. For instance, smiling, laughter, and crying behavior are understood universally. A smile in Japan communicates the same message as a smile in the United States. Crying in Brazil communicates the same message as crying in the Netherlands. One common mistake we make, however, is to believe that all of our nonverbal communication behavior is expressed and interpreted similarly in all social settings and cultures. This is not the case for all behaviors. Direct eye contact in the United States is most often interpreted as a positive, confident, and open way of communicating with another person, whereas Asians and Northern Europeans view direct eye contact as rude and invasive. You can see where even a simple behavior such as eye contact between individuals from two different cultures could result in some very disturbing miscommunication. When communicating with loved ones, be sensitive to any social or cultural norms of nonverbal communication that might be relevant. The specific nonverbal behaviors presented in this chapter are based on the norms in the United States. But even in the United States, you need to be aware and sensitive to social and cultural differences when you communicate with others. When in doubt, do a perception check. Given the enormous amount of nonverbal communication available in one message and the complexity of any single communication event, it is no wonder that nonverbal communication is often difficult to decipher. Let's imagine that your coworker begins to increase eye contact with you during a 1-week period. How do you interpret this change in behavior? Does this behavior mean romantic attraction, new contact lenses, or disapproval of your new haircut? Who knows what to make of it? A single nonverbal behavior such as increased eye contact may have many different meanings. Nonverbal communication can be very ambiguous. One important way to find out what a particular behavior means is to simply ask the individual. By perception checking, comparing your perceptions with those of another, you can shed some light on your confusion. You can say, "I've noticed this past week that you've been looking in my direction more than usual. Is my haircut that ugly?" This lets the coworker know your concern and your interpretation and provides him with the opportunity to give you his response. It might be, "Heck no, I've been watching the construction on the building outside your window," or "Yes, your hair is so wild, I can't help but stare." Your invitation to check perceptions lets you clarify ambiguous nonverbal behavior. Take it slowly. A final reminder before you begin showing you care is to take it slowly. By that I mean don't overwhelm your loved ones with a dramatic or startling change in your nonverbal behavior. For instance, if you have never hugged your father before and begin by hugging and kissing him with reckless abandon, he may react to your behavior with defensiveness or even hostility. Take it slow. Begin small. Try 1 hug for openers. Then maybe try 2 at the next meeting. Build up gradually if it feels appropriate and comfortable for both parties. It feels appropriate and comfortable for both parties. This advice goes for all the ways to show caring that are presented here. Take it slowly. I think it's something that people do now too is ask, like, "Can I give you a hug?" That's pretty safe. Talk is cheap. Your behavior really communicates your caring. One of the most important gifts from your heart is showing you care in ways your loved ones can see, feel, and touch. Whether it is turning down a job promotion so you can spend more time with your family, or just giving someone a hug, your nonverbal communication can express your caring to others. In the end, you won't regret spending less time at the office and more time with your loved ones. Decide to give the gift of showing you care. So that's the end of gift number 9, showing you care. And so the activities for this 9.1, personal exploration. Who showed you love? It is helpful to reflect on those people in our lives who have shown they loved us and cared for us. Take a moment to list 3 specific individuals who showed they cared for you by doing something specific. They can be a parent, relative, teacher, coach, friend, or neighbor. What did each of these 3 individuals do or communicate non-verbally to you? How do you feel about the impact that these 3 individuals have made on your life? 9.2, practice giving, increasing your touch. Increase your touching behavior with a loved one for a week. Try to use at least 3 of the 12 touching behaviors discussed in this chapter during the next 7 days. What did it feel like to increase your touching behavior? How did your loved one respond to your increased touching? And then 9.3, practice giving, increasing your smiles. During the next week, increase your smiling behavior towards strangers in your neighborhood, people at work, and even to your family at home. What were the responses of those at whom you smiled? How did you feel? What did you learn? And that is gift 9. I think it's a great chapter, and definitely you want to do it smart, and I think asking is a great way, and checking perceptions is great, and thank you for being here. And remember, think long and hard about showing people you care more. All right. I'll see you next time.